For thousands of years, humanity looked at the stars and wondered if someone else was out there. Scientists searched for signals, telescopes watched distant galaxies, and stories were written about alien civilizations. But year after year, the universe stayed silent. Most people slowly began to believe that humanity might truly be alone. Then one quiet morning, everything changed. The first sign came from a deep space monitoring station in Australia. A group of scientists were studying normal space traffic, asteroids, distant stars, and small cosmic signals. Nothing unusual ever happened there. It was one of the calmest jobs in the world. But that morning, one scientist noticed something strange on the screen. At first, it looked like a glitch. A small cluster of objects had appeared far beyond Jupiter's orbit. The computer showed hundreds of moving points where nothing should exist. The scientist leaned closer to the screen. Then the number started increasing. Hundreds became thousands. The room slowly filled with tension. More scientists gathered around the display. The system recalculated the data again and again. But every time the result was the same. Something massive was entering the solar system. Within minutes, the signal was sent to space agencies around the world. Telescopes quickly turned toward the distant objects. The images began to arrive seconds later. The entire room fell silent. They were ships. Not one ship. Not 10 ships. Thousands of them. A massive alien armada was moving toward Earth. The ships were enormous. Some of them were larger than cities. They traveled in perfect formation, like a giant wall of metal moving through space. Strange lights covered their hulls, glowing with unknown energy. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens one day. But nobody expected them to arrive like this. Within hours, governments across the world entered emergency meetings. Military leaders gathered with scientists and intelligence experts. News channels began reporting strange activity in space, though the full truth was still hidden from the public. But the situation became impossible to hide. The alien fleet continued moving closer. When the ships passed near Saturn, the images became clearer. Their designs looked powerful and heavily armed. Long weapon structures were visible along the sides of the vessels. These were not exploration ships. They were warships. Fear spread quickly across Earth. People watched the skies, wondering what would happen next. Social media exploded with theories and rumors. Some believed the aliens had come in peace. Others were not so hopeful. Then something even more terrifying happened. A signal came from the alien fleet. It was powerful enough to reach every satellite around Earth. Within seconds, the signal appeared on screens across the planet. Scientists quickly translated the message. The words were short and cold. Planet designated, Earth. Prepare for surrender. The message repeated again and again. Across the world, panic began to grow. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this before. The alien armada was still millions of kilometers away, but it was moving steadily toward the inner solar system. Military forces prepared their defenses, but many experts feared it would not be enough. Humanity had powerful weapons, but nothing compared to thousands of advanced alien warships. The future suddenly felt uncertain. But while fear spread across Earth, something else was happening far away in space. Near the orbit of Mars, hidden behind the red planet, silent machines slowly came to life. For decades, humanity had secretly built defenses across the solar system. Most people on Earth did not know they existed. Massive stations began activating. Hidden satellites powered on. And deep within the shadows of space, enormous human warships awakened from silent standby. Their engines slowly started glowing. Back on Earth, the alien armada continued its steady advance. The fleet crossed the orbit of Jupiter, moving deeper into human territory. The alien commanders believed victory would be easy. After all, they were facing only one small planet. They did not know about the defenses waiting ahead. They did not know that humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time. And as the massive alien fleet approached Mars' orbit, something powerful quietly aimed its weapons toward the stars. Because the aliens believed they were coming to conquer Earth. But very soon, they were about to learn a terrible truth. Humanity was ready. While fear spread across Earth, a very different conversation was happening in a secure command center buried deep under a mountain in Colorado. Inside the room, the leaders of many nations sat around a large table. Giant screens showed the alien Armada moving slowly through space. Thousands of ships were now clearly visible. The fleet looked like a dark storm drifting toward the inner solar system. Everyone in the room understood the danger. But not everyone was afraid. A gray-haired man wearing a simple military uniform stood up. His name was Admiral David Rains, commander of a project so secret that even most world leaders had never heard of it. He looked at the moving fleet on the screen and spoke calmly. "They're right on schedule." Some leaders stared at him in confusion. "What schedule?" one of them asked. Admiral Rains pressed a small button on the table. The main screen changed, showing a completely different image, hundreds of hidden installations across the solar system. Stations around Mars. Weapon platforms in the asteroid belt. Strange objects floating quietly near the orbit of Jupiter. The room became silent. "This," the Admiral said, "is Project Sentinel." 25 years earlier, humanity had received a strange signal from deep space. It was not a message. It was more like a warning, an automated signal repeating again and again from a distant region of the galaxy. Most scientists believed it was a natural signal. But a small group of researchers thought differently. They believed the signal meant something terrible was coming. Instead of announcing the discovery to the public, governments secretly began preparing for the worst. They started building defenses far away from Earth so that any future battle would happen far from the planet. For decades, engineers worked quietly in space. Factories hidden inside asteroids built massive weapons. Automated stations were placed near Mars. Experimental warships were designed using the newest human technology. The public believed humanity was still a young space civilization. But the truth was very different. Humanity had been preparing for war. And now the war had finally arrived. Back on the main screen, the alien Armada moved closer to the orbit of Jupiter. The fleet was enormous, thousands of warships traveling in perfect order. They still believed Earth was defenseless. Admiral Rains folded his arms. "They think we're a primitive species," he said. "That mistake will cost them." Far away in space, hidden sensors began tracking every movement of the alien ships. Long-range scanners studied their engines, weapons, and shields. Artificial intelligence systems calculated millions of possible battle outcomes. One result appeared again and again. The best place to stop the invasion was near Mars. Mars' orbit had become humanity's silent shield. Large defense platforms slowly powered on. Massive railguns rotated toward the incoming fleet. Hidden missile arrays prepared their launch systems. Even the quiet asteroid belt began to change. What once looked like harmless rocks suddenly revealed hidden weapon stations. Across the solar system, humanity's secret defenses awakened. Back on Earth, people watched the sky with fear. News channels spoke about the approaching alien fleet. Some cities began preparing emergency shelters. Military aircraft filled the skies. But most people still did not know the full truth. They did not know humanity had been preparing for this exact moment. Near Mars, the first human warships slowly emerged from the darkness behind the planet. They were unlike any spacecraft ever shown to the public. Long, sleek hulls built for combat. Heavy armor covering their surfaces. Massive railgun cannons mounted along their sides. The ships moved silently into position, forming a defensive line around Mars' orbit. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. On the bridge of the lead human warship, Captain Elena Torres watched the tactical display carefully. The alien fleet appeared as a massive cluster of red lights slowly approaching the inner system. She took a deep breath. The waiting was almost over. A quiet message appeared on her screen from Earth Command. All defense units ready. She looked at the officers around her. Stay sharp, she said calmly. They'll be here soon. Far in the distance, the alien armada continued moving forward, unaware of the trap forming ahead. Their commanders believed the humans would panic. They believed Earth would surrender. They believed this invasion would be easy. But as the fleet crossed the outer edge of Mars' orbit, thousands of hidden human weapons quietly locked onto their targets. And for the first time since entering the solar system, the alien armada was no longer the hunter. Now, they were the ones flying directly into humanity's trap. The alien armada moved through space like a giant storm of metal. Thousands of warships advanced together, their engines glowing like small stars in the darkness. From far away, the fleet looked unstoppable. Inside the command ship of the alien fleet, the atmosphere was calm. Their commanders watched the human solar system on large holographic displays. Blue lines showed the orbits of planets, and a small green dot marked Earth. To them, it looked like an easy target. One alien officer studied the scans of human technology. According to their data, humanity had only a few military satellites and a small number of experimental ships. Primitive. Weak. Nothing that could challenge a fleet of this size. Our victory will be quick, the alien commander said confidently. Prepare the surrender signal again. This species will not resist. The message was sent toward Earth once more. Planet Earth. Surrender immediately. But this time, something unexpected happened. Their scanners detected movement near Mars. At first, it appeared as small energy signals, tiny compared to the power of the alien fleet. But the signals kept increasing. More and more appeared. The alien officer leaned closer to the screen. Commander. I am detecting multiple unknown objects near Mars' orbit. The commander frowned. How many? The officer hesitated. Thousands. For the first time since entering the solar system, the alien bridge became quiet. Long-range sensors suddenly revealed the truth. Behind Mars, hidden in the shadow of the red planet, an entire human fleet waited. Hundreds of massive warships slowly moved into formation. Defense platforms powered on. Railguns rotated toward the approaching armada. Missile arrays unlocked their targeting systems. The trap was ready. On the bridge of the human flagship HFS Vanguard, Captain Elena Torres stood calmly as the tactical display lit up with red enemy signals. The alien fleet was now entering the engagement zone. All across the human defense network, commanders waited for one final order. The order to fire. Enemy fleet approaching Mars orbit, an officer reported. Torres nodded slowly. Distance. 3 million kilometers and closing fast. The entire bridge became silent. Everyone understood what was about to happen. This would be the first battle between humanity and an alien civilization. And it would decide the fate of Earth. A message arrived from Earth Command. Defend the planet. No retreat. Torres looked at the massive enemy fleet on the display. Thousands of alien warships. Enough firepower to destroy worlds. But they had made one terrible mistake. They came too close. Activate defense network, Torres ordered. Instantly, the silent weapons around Mars came alive. Hidden platforms opened their armored shields. Massive railguns began charging. Missile launch systems prepared hundreds of warheads. Across space, the human fleet formed a defensive wall in front of the alien armada. The aliens finally understood the situation. This is impossible, one alien officer said in shock. The humans were supposed to be defenseless. But it was already too late. Captain Torres raised her hand. All units, she said calmly, target the lead ships. Across the solar system, thousands of targeting systems locked onto the enemy fleet. The alien armada tried to react quickly. Their ships began powering weapons and activating shields. But they had already flown straight into the kill zone. Torres lowered her hand. Fire. For 1 second, space remained silent. Then the darkness exploded with light. Hundreds of human railguns fired at the same moment. Massive metal projectiles shot across space at incredible speed. Within seconds, they slammed into the front line of alien warships. The first alien ship shattered instantly. Then another. And another. Explosions lit up the darkness around Mars like a field of burning stars. Missiles followed seconds later, streaking across space toward the alien fleet. Bright trails of light crossed the battlefield before slamming into enemy shields. The alien armada suddenly realized the truth. This was not a weak planet. This was a fortress. On the alien command ship, panic began spreading. Commander. We are taking heavy damage. Our forward ships are destroyed. Human weapons are stronger than predicted. The alien commander stared at the burning wreckage appearing across the fleet. They had come expecting surrender. Instead, they had found war. And this war had only just begun. Near Mars, the human fleet continued firing as the first battle of the solar system filled space with fire and destruction. The alien armada was massive. But humanity had something even more powerful. Preparation. And the real battle was still coming. The battle near Mars had already turned space into a storm of fire. Destroyed alien ships drifted through the darkness like burning metal islands. Pieces of broken hulls and shattered engines floated silently between the two fleets. Bright flashes of explosions continued lighting the empty space around Mars. But the alien armada was still enormous. Even after losing many ships in the first surprise attack, thousands of alien warships remained. Their commanders quickly recovered from the shock and began organizing a counterattack. On the alien command ship, alarms echoed across the bridge. Human weapons are stronger than expected, one officer reported nervously. The alien commander stared at the battlefield display. Red lights showed destroyed ships across the front line of the fleet. But behind them, many more warships were still ready for battle. Regroup the fleet, the commander ordered. Break their defensive line and advance to Earth. Slowly, the alien armada began moving again. New formations appeared. Their heavy battleships moved forward while smaller attack ships spread across space like a swarm. Powerful alien cannons began charging, glowing with strange blue energy. Moments later, the alien fleet returned fire. Blinding beams of energy shot across space toward the human defense line. Several human ships were hit immediately. One warship exploded in a bright flash as alien weapons tore through its armor. Another ship lost its engines and slowly drifted away from the battlefield. On the bridge of the HFS Vanguard, Captain Elena Torres watched the damage reports appear across her screen. Multiple ships hit, an officer said. Alien weapons are extremely powerful. Torres nodded calmly. She had expected this. Hold formation, she ordered. Keep them inside the engagement zone. The human fleet continued firing railguns and missiles, but the alien ships were adapting quickly. Their shields began blocking some of the attacks, and their return fire grew more accurate. The battle was becoming dangerous. Far away on Earth, military commanders watched the fight through satellite feeds. The entire world now knew that a war in space had begun. But there was still one final step in humanity's defense plan. Near Mars, hidden on the far side of the planet, a massive structure slowly activated. It was larger than any human spacecraft ever built. A long circular cannon, built directly into a giant orbital platform. For decades, it had remained silent and hidden from all alien sensors. Its name was Aegis. The most powerful weapon humanity had ever created. Inside the command center of the Aegis platform, engineers watched energy levels rise slowly. Reactor systems online. Targeting systems active. Charging sequence beginning. Massive fusion reactors deep inside the platform began sending power into the cannon. Energy flowed through huge cables and glowing conduits. The entire structure vibrated slightly as the weapon prepared to fire. Back on the HFS Vanguard, Captain Torres received a message from Mars Command. Aegis charging. 5 minutes until ready. Torres looked back at the tactical display. The alien fleet was still pushing forward, trying to break through the human defensive line. They were getting closer to Mars. Closer to the trap. Human ships continued fighting, holding their position even as enemy fire struck their armor. Their only mission now was to keep the alien fleet exactly where it was. Inside the alien command ship, the commander watched the human defense line slowly weaken. Human resistance is collapsing, one officer reported. The commander nodded. Continue forward. Once we pass Mars orbit, nothing will stop us from reaching Earth. The alien fleet pushed deeper into the battle. And exactly as planned. They moved into the perfect position. Back on the Aegis platform, alarms suddenly changed tone. Weapon fully charged. The command officer looked at the targeting screen. Thousands of alien ships filled the firing zone. The entire Armada was now directly in front of the weapon. Ready to fire, the officer said quietly. Far away on the HFS Vanguard, Captain Torres smiled slightly. She opened a communication channel. All human forces, she said calmly, prepare for final strike. The alien armada continued moving forward, completely unaware of what was about to happen. They believed they had almost won. But in the darkness behind Mars, the massive Aegis cannon slowly turned toward them. Energy gathered inside the weapon like a growing star. And in just a few seconds, humanity was about to show the galaxy a weapon no one had ever seen before. The battlefield around Mars had become a graveyard of broken ships. Burning wreckage floated through space while small explosions continued to flash across the darkness. Human and alien warships still fired at each other, but everyone on the human side knew something the aliens did not. The real battle was about to end. Hidden behind Mars, the massive Aegis platform was now fully charged. Energy flowed through its enormous structure like lightning trapped inside metal. The cannon glowed brighter and brighter as the final seconds of the charging process began. Inside the control center of the platform, engineers watched their screens carefully. Energy output stable. Target lock confirmed. Alien fleet fully inside the firing zone. The command officer slowly took a deep breath. For 25 years, humanity had secretly built this weapon. It was designed for only one purpose, to stop an enemy fleet before it could reach Earth. And now that moment had arrived. Back on the human flagship HFS Vanguard, Captain Elena Torres watched the battlefield on her tactical screen. The alien fleet was still pushing forward, trying to destroy the human defense line. They had no idea what was about to happen. Torres opened a channel to every human ship in the area. All units, she said calmly, pull back 5,000 kilometers. Clear the firing path. Immediately, human warships began moving away from the center of the battlefield. Their engines glowed as they repositioned themselves. The alien commanders noticed the movement. On the alien command ship, an officer spoke quickly. Commander, human ships are retreating. The alien commander watched the screen carefully. They are running, he said with confidence. Their defenses are collapsing. Continue advancing. The alien fleet moved forward even faster. Thousands of warships pushed toward Mars, believing victory was finally close. But their advance placed them exactly where humanity wanted them. Inside the Aegis platform, a loud tone echoed through the control room. Final charge complete. The cannon was ready. On the main screen, the alien armada appeared like a giant wall of red lights. The command officer slowly raised his hand. Fire. For a brief moment, space became completely silent. Then the Aegis cannon unleashed its power. A massive beam of pure white energy shot out from behind Mars. It cut across space like a blade of light, moving faster than any missile or projectile. Within seconds, it reached the alien fleet. The first line of warships simply vanished. Their shields collapsed instantly as the beam tore through their hulls. Dozens of ships disappeared in a flash of light, leaving only expanding clouds of metal and gas behind them. The beam continued moving forward. Entire formations of alien ships were destroyed in seconds. Explosions filled space as reactors overloaded and engines shattered under the immense power of the weapon. On the alien command ship, alarms screamed across the bridge. Commander. Multiple ships destroyed. Our shields cannot stop the weapon. Entire fleet sections are gone. The alien commander stared in disbelief as ship after ship vanished from the tactical display. This was impossible. No young species should have a weapon like this. The beam continued sweeping across the battlefield, cutting through the massive armada like a storm of light. Within minutes, thousands of alien warships were gone. What had entered the solar system as a powerful invasion fleet was now a broken and scattered force. The surviving alien ships quickly turned their engines around. They were no longer attacking. They were fleeing. Back on the HFS Vanguard, the bridge was quiet as officers watched the alien fleet retreat from the battlefield. Captain Torres slowly crossed her arms. "Status report," she asked. One officer looked at the tactical screen. Enemy fleet retreating beyond Mars orbit. Over 70% of their ships destroyed. Torres nodded. The war had lasted less than an hour. And it had ended before the alien fleet could even reach Earth. Far away in space, the surviving alien ships transmitted emergency messages across the galaxy. Their warning was simple. Do not attack Earth. This system is defended. Back on Earth, people watched the news as reports arrived from the battle. The alien invasion that had terrified the planet had ended almost as quickly as it began. Humanity had survived its first war with an alien civilization. And far beyond the solar system, other alien observers quietly studied the battle recordings. They watched the moment when the massive armada was destroyed. They saw the power of humanity's hidden weapons. And one of them sent a message to the rest of the galaxy. Mark this system as restricted territory. Because the galaxy had just learned something very important. Earth was not an easy target. Earth was protected by humanity. And